Hi there. Thanks for coming back for part 4. I appreciate you taking the time to watch this video. As I've said before, this is something I am doing to try and rid the poison from my system and also to warn others so that they may avoid that poison themselves. Something I wanted to say at the beginning is I was always fully in agreement with the strategy of gray rocking the malignant, narcissistic, sociopathic activities ongoing around attacking the Aftermath Foundation. I thought it was the right thing to do. Everything that I had studied about this subject that I covered in my sociopathy series on my blog said that was the correct response. And I believe it was. And it was good for the Aftermath Foundation not to sink down into the level of back and forth with Aaron and his flying monkeys. But I'm not sure it was good for me. And now I'm doing what I believe is good for me. And it may be selfish. It may result in backlash, unwanted responses, more attacks on the Aftermath Foundation. And I'm sorry that this may bring that about, but it's something I feel very strongly I need to do. In February of this year, Aaron put out a video that he titled Responding to the Lies of Mike Rinder. I haven't watched the video. I never will. I have no idea what he rambled on about for 2 hours. But one thing I do know is that armchair oncologist and dictator of all things true to his cult-like followers pronounced that I really didn't have cancer. And that was intended to create the impression that if I was willing to lie about that, I was willing to lie about anything. It resulted in a new avalanche of hate and spite and ugliness, mostly directed at me and Christy and the boys, telling Christy and the boys that they should get away from me as fast as they possibly could because of how evil I am. I expected that sort of reaction from the Scientology trolls. Of course, they operated on the basis that, see, look what you did, you pulled it in. A concept that's very, very basic in Scientology and applies to everyone except for L. Ron Hubbard, who never pulled anything in, despite how he ended up dying alone in a mobile home of a stroke and pancreatitis and various other things. And no doubt when David Miscavige finally meets his end, he too will be excluded from this basic law of the universe. I expected also somewhat from the Smith-Levin flying monkeys. But what I didn't expect And what I haven't expected over this time is the people who I spent a lot of time helping, turning on the basis of things that Aaron Smith-Levin said about me without even checking, without even asking me anything. I spent enormous amounts of time with Natalie, helping her get her daughter out of Scientology. Way before any Aftermath Foundation, before anything, before the show even existed. And she didn't even ask me anything, but just jumped on the bandwagon of the Pied Piper of Hamelin with his magic flute and his sprinkly goldy dust, offering a way of making money. Similarly with Sterling, I was the first person that Sterling met when his parents brought him home from the hospital. I considered him my godson. When we were in Los Angeles and Jack came to visit, we spent a day together, and Jack adored Sterling. He absolutely adored him. It was like suddenly finding another older brother. But Sterling didn't reach out and ask me anything. He didn't check to see if any of the things that were being said about me were true. He too just ran down the path following the Pied Piper. Same with Jenna. Jenna, who grew up with my son Benjamin, who I have known since she was 2 or 3, who I lived with for many years in the shared apartment with her mother and father, who had reached out to me during her divorce for my counsel and advice. Suddenly, she's gone. No word, no text, no message, no phone call, just, oh, now you're bad. The same with a bunch of other people. Liz Gale. Never said a word about Liz Gale. I've never said a mean thing about Liz Gale, about Christy Gordon, about Miriam Francis, or Mike Brown, or Nora Ames, or a whole bunch of people who, over time, I have spent trying to help, who have done a terrible thing in my mind of throwing away those things in favor of the pixie dust offered by their Pied Piper. I also want to comment on how disappointed I am that Aaron has decided that there are certain people who are enemies of him on the basis of what I believe to be the covetous sociopath syndrome, which I covered in part 5 of my sociopathy series. Tony Ortega incurred the wrath of Aaron, I believe, at the behest of Jane Doe 1, who did not like him. And Aaron then began to target Tony Ortega. He stole Tony Ortega stories, dozens and dozens and dozens of them. Stories that Tony Ortega had researched and written, stories on my blog that I had researched and written that he used as content for his YouTube videos. I think that Aaron was always jealous that even as an un-Scientologist, Tony Ortega had a greater understanding of Scientology than he did. He also went after Chris Shelton. Why? I have no idea, other than Chris Shelton was his senior and actually was in Scientology management and actually went and educated himself on cults, something that Aaron never did, something that Chris Shelton continued to put out into the world this valuable information. He went after Mitch Brisker. Why? I assume because Mitch Brisker knew more about what happened in international management and with David Miscavige than Aaron ever would and ever will, because Aaron was never there. And he also went after Alex Barnes Ross, who began doing effective things, the real work of exposing Scientology in the UK. Why go after Alex Barnes Ross? Why go after anybody who theoretically is on the same side as you, trying to end the abuses of Scientology? It will always be a mystery to me, although, as I said, I think it really is explained in the covetous personality, covetous sociopathy that I wrote about on my blog. Thank you for watching this. Next part coming up soon. Bye now.